If you're watching this webinar, you probably fit into one of two categories. In the first category, maybe I'm actually the very first person to speak truth into your ordeal, and all this is going to sound very fresh and new, or maybe you're just getting used to your doctor and hearing that drugs are going to heal you. Well, that's what you believed, and on this webinar, what you're going to do is you're going to learn that drugs are not the answer, and that your body can actually heal itself. You might become confused about life without thyroid medication, and it might actually seem a little bit scary. If that's how you feel, it's okay. I run into people all the time who have never heard the principle that the body can heal as long as there's no interference. Or they're surprised to hear me say that drugs are not the answer. And if that's you, then here's your aha moment. If drugs were actually healing your body or making you feel better, you probably would not have taken the time to register and watch this webinar. Chances are pretty high that you're growing more and more tired of going to the doctor just to be put on more and more medications for all the symptoms that you've been having. See, this is what nearly every one of my patients tells me in our first encounter. They're tired of being told that there's nothing more that can be done, or they're just gonna have to learn to deal with it, or they're gonna have to take medication, and that should take care of the symptoms, only to find out that the side effects of the drugs are usually worse than the original symptoms. Worse, they don't even help resolve the very reason why you started taking them in the first place. And if this sounds like you, I have great news. In this webinar, I'm going to show you the root cause of most thyroid issues. And I'm going to actually give you real life action steps for the rapid reversal process so that you can actually finally take control of your health and heal your body without drugs. If you want to be able to eliminate symptoms like fatigue and weight gain and weight loss resistance, how about things like anxiety and depression and brain fog? It all starts inside, and it's about the rapid reversal process. The other category of people that are watching, they understand that there's an idea that their body has a power to heal, and the prospect of that sounds great to you. Maybe you've already tried other programs, but you just didn't get what you were expecting out of it, or maybe it was just too hard and you felt like you were just not supported, or after starting you actually felt hopeless and alone. And then guess what? You just gave up. This is pretty common, and if this is you, today's a great day for you because there's absolutely no other way for you to get your body back on track without the rapid reversal process. Interactions with over 31,000 individual patients. Our office has been named one of America's top family practice chiropractors, and we've been voted the best chiropractor in the Silicon Valley and the Max Living Office of the Year. And personally, I've been recognized by my peers in the California Chiropractic Association as not only Student of the Year, New Doctor of the Year, but Doctor of the Year. See, this has allowed us the opportunity to make inroads and to be able to take care of the United States judo team and the wrestling team, the United States weightlifting team for 2 different Olympics, as well as taking care of our local professional hockey team here in San Jose. So what does that mean to you? Absolutely nothing. The only thing that it does mean is that I've committed my life to being the very best at what I do, and tonight's going to be no exception. What we're going to do is we're going to give you the keys so that you can immediately get started. In fact, you should have already received the 10-step protocol, and if not, just email us at info@drtjosborne.com, drtjosborne, osborne.com, and we'll make sure that you get it right away. Let's get started. Imagine if the battery in your car dies. Would you start worrying about what type of gas to put into it? That's really what most people do. Sure, there's diets that are good and they work for some people sometimes, but the truth is that until your body is healed at the cellular level, your battery will always be low and you'll always be struggling to get good results. So, the reason for your failure was most likely due to the fact that your body's batteries are dead, and then you're just trying to treat the symptoms without really getting to the cause. So today is your jump start. This webinar is going to be laser focused on cellular health. It's going to be about how to recharge your cellular battery, because we live and we die at the cellular level. This is the key to unlocking your health. I'm going to give you the top 3 causes of cellular inflammation and how to avoid them. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. This webinar is awesome and it's full of great content, so you definitely want to watch the entire webinar to the end. If you can, please leave comments, because I personally will answer each and every one. Share this webinar with people. I need to get this message out to as many people as possible who are suffering just like you. When we're done, I'd also ask you to leave me a comment. I want to know how you're going to apply these foundational principles to your life and how this is going to make an impact on your quality of life. So let's talk about roadblocks, because we've all run into them. Before I start teaching, I really want to teach you something that I've learned. And so if you know me, you'll know that I'm a bookaholic. I read 1 to 2 books a week, and I've been doing it for 30 years. I've polished several thousand books in preparation for today, not just on thyroid, but on many topics. Actually, one of my wife's greatest frustrations is that when Amazon comes, she asks me the same question: where are we going to put that? I don't read romance novels and stuff like that. I read health books. I read leadership books. I read motivational books. And the one common thing that I've learned from 30 years of reading is this: the biggest roadblock to your success is looking at you in the mirror every single day. Here's something else I want to teach you, and it's groundbreaking. And I just want you to write this down. And it really has nothing to do with thyroid, but it actually has everything to do with it. Are you ready? It's a word, and it's the word indecision. That means the inability to decide. Have you ever felt indecisive? I don't know what I'm going to do. Do I take my meds or do I not? If I don't, I'm going to die. And if I do, well, I'm dying and I feel terrible. See, when you're indecisive, your brain does this. It builds doubt. And I tell you the solution to your problems, and you say, I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. Even if I told you that if you literally went over into the corner, did a handstand with your feet in the air for 5 minutes and let me tickle your nose, and 100% of your issues go away, would you do it? Probably wouldn't, because you have what? Doubt. See, even with all my training and thousands of success stories, would you do it even if it could change your life? Even if there was a 1% chance that it could change your life? See, what you think about becomes your reality. If you say that's crazy by doing that, well, it already tells me that you have doubts. I mean, anything is possible because God is an amazing healer inside of you, and it just takes action and faith. And when you have doubt, then it reinforces the indecision, which reinforces the doubt, and you get stuck. When indecision and doubt marry each other, you end up with the greatest issue in all of humanity, and that's what most people walk around in, is fear. And if you have any fears about doing something different, it's only because we have doubts in your brain, which is only there because of indecisiveness. So what's the best way to no longer have fear? Make a decision. Just make a decision. Decide that today is going to be the day that you feel the way that you want to feel for the rest of your life. This is the day that changes all of them. See, they've actually shown that when people make a decision, it's usually not the road less traveled. It's the one that most people aren't going down because most people don't make decisions. So really what I find that makes the biggest difference in us making decisions or not is what I call our big why. See, I think the thing is that if you stop depositing in your bank account, your balance is going to go up. Your balance is going to go down. Sorry, I wish it was that easy. But but you know that it was your decision as to why your balance is low. And one day you're going to wake up and you're going to have no money, and you're not going to wonder why. You just knew that you made a decision not to make deposits. You want health, you decide. I know it's tough, but we're talking about your health account. I mean, what are you depositing? Are you depositing health creating actions every day? See, today's about making deposits into your health account. But why do we go through all this effort? I mean, why are we spending time on this webinar? See, that is the big question. When they study people that take action, they find that really only 3% of people do. I mean, you give 100 people the answer to their problems, and 97% of them don't do what they're supposed to do. You tell them to spend less money than they make, and they spend more than they make. You tell them to save 20% of their income, and only 3% of the people even do this, even if it would make them a millionaire. Why don't they take action? It's because of this doubt. And that's why I really want to encourage you to find your why. I need to teach you what I call the 7-layer process. And it's a process that gets to the thought behind the thought. And I really encourage you to do this and write it down. See, you have to ask yourself why 7 times, because the real answer is actually the 7th one. Let me share with you an interaction that I had with a patient the other day. She wanted her fibromyalgia to go away and was having a hard time following through on what she needed to do. And I asked her, I said, "Hey, Mary Jane, why do you want your fibromyalgia to go away?" And her answer was probably the same one that all of you would give, is just to feel better. So let's go 7 layers deep on this. Let's find out the thought behind the thought. My next question to her was, so why is it important that you feel better? And obviously her answer was probably something similar to what you guys would have, because I want to enjoy life more. So she said she wants to enjoy life. Okay, here we go. We have 5 more to go. Why is it, Marianne, that it was important that you enjoy life? And her answer was, so I can participate in more things with my grandkids. And now we're getting to something. There we go. We got grandkids now. So why is it important that you participate in things with your grandkids? I asked her. Well, the answer is because I love them and they love me. Okay, so that's great. Why is it important that you love them? Because they're my whole life, is her answer. There we go. We're getting somewhere now. So why is it so important that you are life to them and their life to you? Her answer was, because we need each other. Last question. Why is it so important that the kids need to feel supported? And her answer was, because kids need to be supported by adults. So what her reason for get rid of her fibromyalgia was, it had nothing to do with feeling better. It was about her being able to fulfill her passion in life, because she needs to be part of her grandkids' life. So I'm asking you, what is your big why? Because the reason is really important, because unless you know it, you're not going to do what's necessary to make your fibromyalgia go away or your Hashimoto's go away. You won't do it unless you have something to anchor to. Does that make sense? So when I asked her to spend a little money, I'm not asking her to do it just so her fibromyalgia goes away. I told her she needs to do it so she can support her grandkids, and that she can go out and actually make a difference in other children's lives. Not just her kids, not just her grandkids, but other people's grandkids. So how do we go about doing this? And this is a big key. It's about having a battle plan. So you know your why, and you're going to promise me you're going to write down your 7-layer why, but you got to have a solid battle plan. I need to warn you, there's a lot of programs out there that claim to have the answer to your thyroid problems. I mean, you've probably seen some of them, like the 3 ways to heal your leaky gut, or the 10 ways to reduce adrenal fatigue, and the list just goes on and on and on. The problem with these programs is that they usually don't offer any long-term fixes, and sometimes they're not even addressing the core issues at work. I mean, you might even feel better temporarily, but sooner or later, you're going to be back feeling miserable again. Sometimes they produce absolutely no results at all. So the real question with these types of programs is if they can actually set you back months or even years in terms of your health, especially if you don't get the results that you're expecting. See, they can really destroy your will to try again, and sometimes doing the wrong thing can actually do long-term damage to your body. Now, these problems, they're really easy to avoid, and we'll get into that in a minute, but I just want you to know that I'm not interested in spreading any more bad news. There's enough of that out there. In fact, I got great news, because when people follow the 10-point cellular regeneration protocol, we see amazing transformations. So where do we go from here? Do I have a thyroid problem? You might think you have a thyroid problem, and if you have, you've probably actually gone to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, let's test your thyroid. Well, your TSH is normal, your T4 is normal, so it can't be your thyroid. Well, it can't be my thyroid. That's the gold standard, is if TSH and T4 is normal, but that's pretty much as far as they usually go. I mean, if you're lucky, they'll start looking at things like T3 and things like that, but the quality of your questions is the quality of the answers that you get. And the above is what I recommend if you want to get to the bottom of it, if you really want to find out if you have a thyroid problem or not. These are the tests that I recommend that people get. It's not just thyroid tests, but looking at other things in your body, such as vitamin D and B and iodine. And if you have a antithyroglobulin antibody there, looking at magnesium and zinc and iron. See, if you don't ask better questions, you're going to end up like everybody else with one of the 4 Ps. You guys know what the 4 Ps are in healthcare? It's pills, it's procedures, it's pain, and it's poverty. Most people don't walk around saying, oh, my thyroid hurts. I have so much neck pain because my thyroid hurts. Would you agree? I mean, when was the last time you said my neck hurts because of my thyroid? You can't feel your thyroid. See, that's why it's the number one misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed condition on the planet. And the problem is we wait until we feel things to go after them, don't we? I mean, that's why when you feel bad, you keep after your doctor looking for a solution. So here's an example of how this works. If your knee's throbbing and aching and swelling up, where do you go? You go to the doctor. But what if your knee is perfect? Would you go and get it checked just to make sure it never swells up? A 3%er would. See, somebody who cares about themselves and their health would go, you know what? I don't have any health issues yet, but I also don't want to have health issues for the rest of my life. So they're going to take action proactively rather than reactively. See, when we wait till we have a problem, we get another P, and that stands for pills. Levothyroxine or Synthroid. These are just the top 2 prescriptions that are out there. And maybe you go to someone who's a little bit more progressive and they say, well, let's try something a little bit more glandular and natural and not synthetic. See, there's an actual supplement that you can get that's like a gland. The problem with all this is whether it's natural or synthetic, it does not fix the cause. See, without fixing the cause, you start having hot flashes, you rationalize that maybe I'm going through menopause a little bit early, you have nerve pains, you're anxious, you're depressed, you start having hypertension, high blood pressure, and even high cholesterol. Do you guys know that they're actually finding that if you take statin drugs for years and your cholesterol hasn't come down, it's because your thyroid is messed up. I mean, they'll give you statins for the rest of your life until you fix your thyroid. They just give you thyroid meds and then more cholesterol meds. On a side note, did you know that cholesterol meds actually damage your liver? Just remember that for later, because either way, you're more toxic. Medications are toxic. More toxic, then you get sicker. And the medications that we take try to make us better, are actually making it worse. And they're just another interference, another cause that you have to get rid of. And what I teach is remove the interference. And you're going, yeah, I know, Dr. Osborne, I want to stop the meds, I want to stop removing the interference. I want to remove the interference, but how do I do it? Stop taking them. You're the one swallowing them, but doc, if I stop, help me finish the sentence. If I stop, I'm going to die. If I stop, I'm going to feel worse. If I stop, I'm going to gain my weight back. If I stop, fill in the blank. They're all just doubt. See, you'd be amazed what happens when you fix the underlying cause. If you leave the cause and you stop, what happens? Of course it's going to actually get worse. You have to stay on your medications until you get to the cause. See, if you fix the cause, you're going to be able to stop, and you're also going to start feeling fabulous. You're going to start having energy, and you're going to have your life, and you're going to feel good. Does that make sense? All right, so this is actually how your thyroid gland works. Are you ready? Okay, so your thyroid actually secretes a hormone, and it's called TRH. It comes right from your brain. Who's ever heard of that? Or even had it tested? The reason why most people have never even heard of it or had it tested, it's something like a $900 test. So TRH is the hormone your brain secretes to tell your pituitary to release something called TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. It comes right down to your thyroid right here. Most people are familiar with this, but let me help you out real quick, if you're ready. So if your thyroid stimulating hormone is low, do you think that it could possibly be because that your brain's not secreting the hormone that makes your pituitary, that your pituitary gland makes? Think about this. If your brain's not secreting this, it won't secrete this. But they don't check for that. You want to know why? Because there's no drug to fix this. None, zip, zilch, zero. So you'd have to learn how to meditate and quiet your brain and actually relax in order for that hormone to start working. Now, is it any wonder why when we have these stressed out lifestyles that we have low TSH? Now, TSH is a hormone that we're all very familiar with in medicine. It's secreted by your pituitary gland, and the pituitary gland sits in the center of your skull, literally in the center of your skull right here, smack dab between your nose and your ears, and on the inside it releases the thyroid stimulating hormone. It goes into the blood, and when it goes in the blood, it actually lands here on your thyroid, and your thyroid sits right here in your neck. It's just right below the Adam's apple, so it's like a butterfly. A lot of times they call it the butterfly gland. And T4 and T3, once that thyroid stimulating hormone hits the thyroid, they're actually released. And most of it is T4. I mean, I'm talking like 90% is T4 and only 10% or less is T3. So you do make some T3 from your thyroid, but it's all right here. It all starts right here. So here's the secret that your doctor is not going to tell you. T4 is an inactive, non-functioning hormone. It means that it really doesn't do anything. It does nothing for you. It's just a precursor. So what has to happen, and it has to be converted into the active form of the hormone, which is T3. The reason for this is that they give you T4 as a supplement, is that you can actually swallow the precursors with no problem. But if you took T3, there would be massive side effects, and you'd become hyper T3 toxic. They would actually make you hyperthyroid by giving you too much T3. So what the doctors do is they say, well, what we'll do is we'll give you T4 and then we'll see what part of your body, what your body actually does with it. Well, here's the thing. All they care about is just that the increase of T4 will shut off TSH. And because these are balanced, well, then they say your thyroid's working perfectly. Yet, here's the problem. Your thyroid is actually more about your liver, and it's more about your guts and the cells themselves. So, are you following me so far? So here's what happens. TSH is going to go to the thyroid, and the thyroid goes, boom, it spits out the T4 and it spits out some of the T3. T4 will go into your liver right down here, and a majority of it's converted into T3 at that point. So do you see that sometimes I say, oh my gosh, your liver is what's causing your thyroid problems. Has anybody ever told you that it could be your liver that's causing your thyroid problems? And you guys might be saying, oh, that's weird. My doctor never told me about that. Well, here's what my job is. What I do is I teach you how to fix your liver. I teach you how to fix your liver, and then your thyroid does what? It just works, right? And you say it's a miracle, and I just say you can now get off your drugs. See, your liver converts about 60% of it in the active form of T4 into the active form of T3. And T3 is the thing that makes you feel alive, it makes you feel good, and it makes you feel hyperactive, and you feel phenomenal. That's when you burn fat and there's no brain fog. It's everything that you want. And you guys are like, I want my energy back. I want my hair to stop falling out. I want to feel good again. If you want that, then that's T3. Now, there is an option, though, if your liver is toxic or stressed out, and the liver will make something called reverse T3. And I want you to write this down and look it up. See, if you've never been tested for reverse T3, there could be a major issue. And the problem is that it's the toxic form of the thyroid hormone. If your reverse T3 is high, here's what you're gonna feel like. You're gonna feel tired all the time. You're gonna feel forgetful. You're gonna have brain fog. You know, you're gonna have hypothyroid symptoms like fatigue and cold and weight gain. And even despite exercise, you just can't remember things. Yeah, your hair is gonna fall out, your skin's gonna get brittle and start breaking, and the same thing with your nails. So do you guys understand that you could have normal T4 and normal TSH and have high reverse T3, and your doctor is gonna say, well, it's not your thyroid. Well, technically they're right. But they also tell you, we don't know what it is. We don't know why you feel the way that you do. So here's what we're gonna suggest. You might wanna just take an antidepressant, and that's gonna make it better. That'll make you feel all better. Now, here's the thing I want you to remember. If the reverse T3 starts to climb, the question becomes, it's almost exactly like its partner, but they're really evil twins. So when we have a toxic liver, we're not going to be able to make T3, we make reverse T3. You guys know the analogy about you got the devil on this shoulder and you got the angel on this shoulder. That's the angel on this shoulder, the T3 says, feel good, love life. The one on this shoulder says, no, don't, hate life. You don't like yourself, you don't like your friend. So this one is telling you you're tired all the time. And so it's about how much that you have imbalanced. And that's what I want you to understand. The imbalance is really going to be due to toxicity. And so if you've never really been tested, I highly recommend that you actually get tested. I mean, has anyone asked their doctor to check out reverse T3 just out of curiosity? Just let me know. Just type it in. Have you had your doctor check out your reverse T3? Anybody? What did they tell you? I'm just curious about this. They said that it wasn't a valid test, correct? Exactly. So can I ask you why they say it's not a valid test? Do you guys actually know this? Why would they say that you shouldn't get tested for reverse T3? And I'll tell you the reason. Because there's no pill to correct it. There's no pill that can make make you take make your reverse T3 go down. And if I run a test and it says, and my name says MD right here, then and the test comes positive, did you guys know that I'm legally and ethically bound to give you a solution to that test? So why would you ever run a test if you don't have a solution to it? And many times they're not going to even be looking at the toxicity of the liver there. So they're going to have that. You're going to have this issue where they're going to say you're normal, you're feeling bad, and they don't have a solution, and they're just going to say you're just going to have to learn to what. So I want you to, as we move through this, we're going to be talking about solutions. And I really want you to write them down. And you probably have to review this many times. All right, so we've just talked about the hormone, but what does it actually do? Well, we're going to go all the way inside the thyroid cell right now. See, the thyroid's job is to take iodine out of your blood, pull it into the cell, and let that DNA that you have actually make a protein called thyroglobulin. And this might get a little technical, but just bear with me, because here's the reason why I need you to understand this. The number of iodines attached to the thyroglobulin tell you exactly what thyroid hormone you were talking about. So if I say you have T4, that means you have 4 iodines on that thyroglobulin. If I say you have T2 or T3, it's a thyroglobulin with 2 or 3 iodines attached to that. Is everyone with me with that? I mean, that's why everybody says, you need to take iodine if you have thyroid. So your thyroid actually secretes T4, and somehow you have to get one of those iodines to come off of it for it to become T3, which is its active form. See, T4 is not an active form of thyroid. It doesn't do anything. It's the T3 which is the active form. And where does that happen? It happens in your liver. See, once again, you're going to see how your liver could be a cause of thyroid issues. There's an enzyme that you see all the way off to the left, and it's called thyroid peroxidase. And it's the enzyme that attaches the iodine to the thyroglobulin. So when you look at antibodies like autoimmune, like Hashimoto's, you're building an antibody response against that enzyme. So then what happens? So if you turn the enzyme off, you're not going to be able to make T3. And that's why if you think that you have Hashimoto's, you need to get an antibody test to see if you're actually destroying the TPOAB. Okay, so that's the thyroid peroxidase there. So not all thyroid problems are the same. You could also be attacking the protein. What if I don't have anything to attach the iodine to, but I have really good enzymes? It's like I'm trying to build a house, but there's no nails. So the question is, how does this apply to you? If you take T4 and you don't feel any difference, it's because the problem is not the fact that you don't have enough T4. It's probably a conversion issue. And most of the time, it's not actually your thyroid that's the issue in Hashimoto's. I can guarantee you your thyroid's not the issue, actually. What's the issue is the autoimmunity that's attacking your thyroid. Now, the gold standard test, like we talked about, is something called TSH and T4. And if they come in normal, but you still have those symptoms, the doctor will say, well, you don't have thyroid. But does that make sense? It's kind of weird, isn't it? We used to base our thyroid health off of how we feel. Now most doctors don't even care how you feel anymore. They only care about their labs. I just want to let you know you are not just your lab. You're a human being. See, if your T4 is low, your TSH was going to do what? Remember, it's the thyroid stimulating hormone. So if T4 is low, TSH is going to go up. Now watch this. If I give you T4, which is the medications that people get, what's going to happen to the TSH? Well, it's going to make the labs look better. It's going to go down. But that's all we really care about, is that our labs are right. It's kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, all they care about is making the labs look better, and they just don't care if you feel better, or if you look better, or if you have more energy. They just care about the labs. So most of the time when we're talking about hormone, it's not the actual hormone that's the problem. All of the cells in your body have receptors, and a hormone must land on that receptor for it to work. So what would happen, just out of curiosity, if something else was in that receptor, and the T3 is going like, hey, get out of my way. And the guy that's in there is like, nah, I'm stuck, I can't get out. And this could be like a heavy metal, it could be a toxin, it could be a virus, or it could be another hormone like reverse T3 that looks a lot like T3. So if the reverse T3 lands here, your cells go, they start to say, well, I'm tired, I'm fatigued, I'm cranky, I don't want to do anything, and reverse T3 doesn't let go. And what's the only way that your body can clear itself out? It has to destroy the cell. It has to kill the cell to get rid of that reverse T3 and actually let a new one come back. And that's why you literally feel like you're dying, because your cells are actually dying. Now, here's the final question. Could you have perfect levels and have an issue because your hormones are off because of the toxicity around your cells? Yes. Does that make sense? So we have to make sure that the brain and the liver and the gut are all working. See, just recently, this is going to blow your mind. They're like, oh my gosh, we just found a new thyroid hormone. But it's not new. It's always been there. It's called T2. We're now learning something about T2 that's wildly important. This enzyme sits inside your liver and your intestines doing all the work for you. And here's the funny thing about it. Enzymes need food, okay? Do you guys know that? They can't work without their basic minerals. So what's the number one mineral deficiency that could cause you to have a thyroid problem? Does anybody know what that number one mineral deficiency is? It's not iron. It's not vitamin D. It's not zinc. It's not iodine. Iodine is what you attach to the thyroid, but what mineral turns the enzyme on to pull the iodine off? It requires magnesium. But here's the key. Selenium is also an anti-cancer, but the key really is not magnesium, it's selenium. See, what selenium does is it stimulates your immune system. Without selenium, this enzyme can't perform its function. Magnesium allows you to use selenium, but selenium allows you to actually perform the function of breaking down T4 to T3. So could you have low T3 but have a normal T4 and a normal TSH, and we told you have nothing wrong with you? Do you guys get this? Where does all the extra T4 goes? It gets turned into reverse T3. That's the one that makes you feel so bad. So if you're deficient in magnesium, if you're deficient in selenium, if you have a toxic liver, that T4 gets turned into reverse T3. So here's another new one. T2. Look at what the science says. T2 makes your liver take up oxygen better. I mean, is that a good idea or a bad idea to have more oxygen in your tissues? It's a very good idea. Most of us are really under-oxygenated, and that's why we can't stay awake. It's when we yawn, it's not a yawn, it's a cry for oxygen. Did you guys know that? It's a cry for oxygen. You breathe oxygen. When your liver gets enough, you say, I feel like $1,000,000 because it keeps you awake. It makes energy. But where does T2 come from? It comes from the conversion of T3 into T2. And where does that happen? Once again, in your liver. So your body knows what to do if you're healthy. Does that make sense? The only place to get T2 is in your body. You can't take a pill for it. And the only way that you develop T2 is by cleaning out your liver and actually addressing the cause. You know, I always think about if it was 50 years from now, we're going to look back and say, oh my gosh, we didn't know anything. Look at all the stuff that we know now. Wouldn't you agree? I mean, I guarantee you there's stuff going on inside you right now that you would thank God that it's happening because we don't even know that it's happening yet. So what do? We got to detox. We have to detox. And the first thing we have to do is fix the damage. And there are three main causes of cell damage caused by cellular inflammation: blocked detox pathways, damaged cell membranes, and methyl depletion. All right, so I know this sounds like a whole bunch of mumbo jumbo, but stick with me for just a moment and let's talk about the blocked detox pathways first. When the cells are recharging, they're also creating a lot of waste. It's like building a fire to cook a meal. And if I was to start a fire inside a closed room, I'd need some way to get the smoke out to avoid dying. Well, cells work the same way. The way that they get the smoke or the toxins out is by using an antioxidant called glutathione. This carries the toxins, so logically, increasing glutathione is going to be a really good place to start. To help you get rid of the toxins, I'm going to show you how to raise your glutathione levels within your cells naturally, and I'm also going to show you how to enable your cells to reuse more of the glutathione you've already made. And here's where it gets tricky, because when you raise intercellular glutathione successfully, you now have a new problem. The path is clear for the toxins to leave the cells, but where do they end up? They end up in the liver. So before starting the rapid reversal process, we have to make sure the liver is functional by addressing the cell membrane. So think of the cell membrane as a communication hub. It's where when your brain wants to tell your cell something, it sends a message called hormones, and the hormones communicate to the cell through tiny receptors on the cell membrane, like a mail slot. The problem is if the cell membrane is inflamed from high glucose or insulin or some other toxins, the message can't get through, and the cell membrane becomes almost deaf. See, what we're seeing now is doctors in the sick care field, they keep prescribing more and more hormones, including thyroid hormone, trying to get the message through to the cell. And it's like me thinking, if I just scream louder at a deaf person, they're going to eventually hear me. It just doesn't make any sense, thinking that we can dump a bunch of thyroid hormones into your bloodstream to make the lab tests look normal. It's never going to eliminate the root cause of the problem. And it's definitely not going to eliminate the symptoms if the T3 doesn't make its way into the cell. So bombarding inflamed cells with T3 or other hormones or T4 or other hormones, they only further blunt the receptors and make this problem worse.
it's a lot easier to prevent cellular inflammation really than it is to reverse it. So there's three main reasons for the membrane to become inflamed. Number one is raising glucose levels and insulin. Glucose and insulin are inflammatory. When we break down glucose, it creates a whole bunch of antioxidants, which it actually has 50 times more antioxidants when you break it down than actually a fat cell does. And insulin's a stress hormone, and stress creates inflammation there. The second thing is so we got to cut the sugars out of our diet there. The breads and the pastas and the cereals, minimizing the fruits there. The second thing is bad fats like vegetable oils. And then the third thing is toxins. So the thing is, in theory, all these things are easy to avoid. The trouble is, when there's already damage to the cell membrane, it actually needs to be reversed. It's like having a bad car that you keep on trying to repair and it's about to go out. You're just putting good money after bad. So if you maintain a perfect ratio of omega-3s to 6s, your cell membranes are going to be healthy. They have to have a perfect ratio. And I found the most effective way to repair a cell membrane is to maintain that perfect ratio of 4:1 with omega-3s to 6s by taking what I call, and we have in our office, is called the optimal omega fish oil. You guys have heard about fish oil. When the ratios are off, the cell membrane, it gets hard like concrete. And when you have too many omega-6s from processed foods and bad fats, nothing can pass through, and it causes increased toxicity of the cell and the cell to starve for lack of nutrients. See, most people are omega-6 dominant. So the omega-3s have become really, and you hear this, they're a big trend in the food industry. The problem is people are taking too much of the omega-3s to compensate. And then you actually start messing up the cell's membrane again when you do that. So too much of a good thing is a bad thing. It's the ratio of 4:1 is absolutely vital. And that's why we developed this optimal omega there. So if you have a bad diet, you have to fix the diet. You got to get rid of the processed foods. You have to get rid of the bad oils, and we're going to cover that in a second. But we also need to start supplementing for health. All right. The next thing that I really want to talk to you about, and I know you really want to hear about, is what we call methylation. But let's talk to you about what you need to know. Now, the detox. Now that we've fixed the cell and the detox pathways are clear, it's time to make sure that the cells have enough switchboard operators to actually turn the right signals on or off. And so this process is called methylation. And so normally when we think of stress, it's like it's emotional stress, like, man, I am so stressed out. See, our bodies undergo other stresses that trigger the same system. For example, when you come in contact with a toxic substance, it puts stress on your body, which is a good thing because it gives your body the strength to fight off the toxins, regardless of whether it's a chemical stress or emotional stress or even a physical stress. Your body deals with every kind of stress the exact same way. Here's how it works. Your brain triggers a process that switches on and off the release of hormones like adrenaline and cortisol. So imagine if you went skydiving and you jumped out of your plane and your body would actually sense a threat, like you're falling to your death. So your body's so intelligent that these methyl groups are called into action to turn on the release of adrenaline. And when you land safely on the ground, the same methyl groups are called into action to turn off the adrenaline. But what if your body is under an excessive amount of stress, causing depletion of your B vitamins? And these are the things that we need for methylation, and they become depleted. Now there's not enough switchboard operators to actually turn on the hormones. Now you have the signal going to your organs, telling your adrenals to release stress hormones, and telling your heart to beat faster even after the threat is gone. So maybe you've heard of the term adrenal fatigue. All this is just a methyl depletion. An adrenal rush is going to save your life if you're getting chased by a bear in the wilderness, but it will completely rob you of your life if your adrenals are constantly flowing, even if you're trying to enjoy a dinner with your spouse. So remember, your body deals with every kind of stress by calling those methyl groups or these switchboard operators to turn on or off the hormone flows. And it could be that you're under a lot of emotional stress, but it could also be an invisible chemical attack that's going on or any other kind of emotional stress. So we have to make sure that you have enough of these switchboard operators operators on, but more importantly, you can turn these hormones, you have the ability to turn these hormones off properly. The way you do this is by using a specially formulated B complex that provides the proper methyl donors. You can think of this as kind of like sending more temporary workers to help your body's switchboard operators catch up on the high demand of the life that you live currently there. But more importantly, about things to do, I'm all about principles. I'm all about principles because when we live our life by principles, we have a principled life. So let's look at how we put all this information together, because our principles are they're filtered by how we see things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share with you the 3 foundational principles that have empowered men and women just like you with thyroid conditions to take charge of their life and their health and eliminate symptoms like fatigue and weight gain and weight loss resistance, anxiety and depression and brain fog. But more importantly, these principles are about getting back to enjoying your life. These 3 principles are known as what I call simple math: addition and subtraction, having ESP or expert systemic protocols, and being in community. See, I'm going to give you the simple guidelines to start implementing these principles in your own life right away, but I'm also going to share with you the number one thing that nearly every one of my patients needs in order to have a lasting transformation. We've already covered a ton of information. You can even turn this webinar off right now and actually be better. But I want you to know that if you feel like you've missed anything, or if you feel like you're drinking from a fire hose, make sure you download the PDF that's been attached. And I hope you've already done that and you're taking notes on it. But also know that we'll send you a link when the webinar is done so you can re-watch this webinar again. But so far today, we've discussed why you're having thyroid symptoms, even if you're on medication. I introduced you to the concept of taking control of your health naturally without drugs or doing surgery or any other risky procedure. And we've talked about thyroid support, the thyroid support system, and how 93% of hormones produced by your thyroid need to be converted into a usable form through the different systems in your body, like the gut and the liver and the heart and muscle. Make sure, if you didn't really hear that part, then I want you to just follow up with an email with a question if you need it, or rewatch the link that I'm going to send you later on in this webinar. So let's talk about transformation. And this is where the rubber meets the road. Transformation is occurring every minute of every day. We're always waiting to transform, but your body is constantly transforming everything you eat, everything you breathe, everything you come in contact with. It's like having an impact on your life, and you just can't leave it to chance. You can't succumb to the sick care plan of dealing with symptoms one at a time and making decisions based on outdated information. See, guys, the sick care model, I just flat out doesn't work, especially for thyroid patients. It's time for something new. It's time for that amazing transformation that you've been seeking, and not just temporary transformation that lasts a week or a month or even a year. See, I want you to have something that sticks with you for the rest of your life. I want you to have a foundation for a great life, a life where you're able to eat delicious foods without fear of gaining weight, or a life where you can build deep relationships with your loved ones without fear or anxiety of depression getting in the way. I want you to have a life that's free of chronic pain and misery. I want you to have quality of life that allows you to enjoy the little things, the quality of life that you deserve. And so before we get into the 3 foundational principles of health, I want to answer a question that we get a lot of. And that's, how serious is my thyroid condition? Here's the deal. If you've been diagnosed with a hypothyroid, there's at least an 80% chance that you have Hashimoto's, which is an autoimmune disease, according to the American Autoimmune Association. Autoimmune disease is considered to be a serious chronic illness, according to the Social Security Department. It can even be categorized as a disability depending on its severity. So the real problem with autoimmune disease is that if you have one, you're far more likely to develop another one. In some autoimmune diseases, they can lead to death or even worse, insurmountable medical bills. And even if you have great insurance, nearly 2 out of 3 bankruptcies are stemmed from medical bills. And even people with health insurance face financial disaster if they experience a serious illness. That's a direct quote from the Journal of the American Medical Association. So I don't want to be seen as an alarmist. I don't want to say these things to scare you, but it's something that you need to know, and I bet no one else is telling you how serious the disease really is. Autoimmune diseases have been on the rise for the last 50 years, and the National Institute of Health estimates that nearly 23 million people suffer from autoimmune diseases, and compared to cancer, which is only 9 million people, and heart disease, which is 22 million. So the bottom line is this. If you decide to continue in the sick care plan, it's going to cost you more than your health. For some families, it's already cost them everything. The good news is that it's not too late. In fact, it's never too late to take charge and transform your life. And I've worked with patients who felt like they had one foot in the grave and the other on a banana peel. And by just applying these proven strategies, we're going to be able to see amazing transformations in their life, and we can do the same thing for you. So let's talk about the simple math. And all it is it's focusing on things that we need to subtract and things that we need to add to our life there. So I put a little cheat sheet here for you. We want to add lots of good, healthy fats for that cell membrane. We want to add bone broth to our diet to help repair the gut. We want to add fermented foods to be able to replenish the good gut bacteria. We want to add moderate protein. We don't want to add a lot of protein because too much protein turns into sugar, which creates inflammation. And the other thing is we want to make sure we have healthy protein. And we want to make sure our protein is grass-fed, it's free range, because toxic meat makes a toxic you, and we don't want to have our liver work harder to get rid of the toxins. The other thing that we want to do is we want to add low carbs to our diet, because remember, carbs create inflammation, which damage the cell membrane there. We also want to start looking at things like subtracting gluten, which we'll talk about in a second, which creates a chronic inflammation in your body. Subtracting caffeine, which mimics the stress response in your body and burns out those methylation pathways there. We want to subtract sugars, which is an inflammation. So breads, pastas, cereals, anything that turns into sugar. Yes, fruits are sugared. Yes, honeys are sugar. We want to get rid of the bad fats, which I talked about earlier, make concrete on your cell walls, keeping the toxins from getting out and keeping the nutrients, including T3, from getting in. We also want to subtract nightshades. And we're not going to talk about this in this webinar today, but do your own research on there. The one thing I would say that we want to add into this simple math process is we want to start listening to our body. See, we've forgotten about listening to our body. So the first foundation is what we call... All right. The next thing I want to talk to you about is your gut. I need to talk to you about anybody that's ever been diagnosed autoimmune, because autoimmunity is found in your gut. Does that make sense? Your gut causes immunity. And if you have rheumatoid arthritis, it's your gut. If you have lupus, it's your gut. If you have Hashimoto's, it's your gut. Does that make sense? So how does this happen? Well, some of the cells in your intestines are supposed to be really tightly knit together to stop stools and viruses and bacteria and toxins and other food particles from getting into your blood. Would you agree? I mean, that makes sense. You don't want poop to get into your blood. We want all that to go where? Into the toilet. Now, what a leaky gut is when the cells of your intestines have split apart and they start to allow the leaky gut to leak directly into your blood. What would cause your cells to spread apart? Well, what would cause your intestines to have holes punched into them? Well, the number one thing that I'm running into is gluten. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But that's one of the big problems is most people, their only approach to healing a leaky gut is by using probiotics there. They think if I take probiotics, maybe I'm going to be healthy. It is a great addition, especially for thyroid sufferers. But you've heard of probiotics like the ones found in yogurt or maybe in taking probiotic supplements. And sometimes you get really impressed by taking like a 500 million or billion CFU that you're swallowing, or maybe you have no idea what I'm talking about. See, probiotics have gained a lot of fame recently, and but they've been an essential part of human life for our entire existence. They're naturally occurring live microbes that are found, and when they're found in adequate amounts in our digestive system, they have significant health benefits because the bacteria, they break down your food, they help you absorb the nutrients into your body. And so one of the first things that we teach our patients is to consume more natural probiotics. And we witness a profound impact on the patient's health through the addition of the right amount of probiotics coming from the right source there. This goes way beyond yogurt and supplements in terms of subtraction. But the big thing is it's like things like kimchi and things like sauerkraut and pickles. You can make your own kefir. Those are ways that you can get the good probiotics into your body. But I also suspect that when somebody has thyroid issues, we also need to look about replacing putting probiotics in there, because there is going to be gut damage there. And to get back to my question, what causes those cells to spread apart and causing the poop to leak into your bloodstream? It's inflammation. It's the damage that's occurring there. We also have another product that we use. It's called Restore, and we keep that in our office because what Restore does is it actually works to restore the gut lining. It's not a probiotic. It literally goes in there and repairs the damage of leaky gut. The other thing is Restore prevents gluten from being able to do the damage in your body there. See, gluten is the one thing that causes so many problems that we're not aware of. I mean, it's the main thing really in gut damage that I'm finding. It's the foods that we eat. Would you agree? I mean, like if I go to Kentucky Fried Chicken because it's only $2.99 for 7 crispy chicken wings and I get a 27-ounce Coke, it sounds good because it's cheap, but guess what it's doing? It's punching holes into my into your intestinal wall. Now, here's what's wild. Your body knows that the holes are there. Of course it does. But what does it do to try to fill in the holes? What do you think it does? Let's find out first what gluten already does, and then we'll talk about how your body heals itself. See, what gluten does is it interacts with bacteria in the gut to produce a protein called zonulin. And zonulin's been shown to cause the spaces in between the tight junctions of the cells that line the wall of the intestine to become permeable or simply leak. This allows the unwanted toxins of bacteria and proteins and other particles to pass from the gut into the bloodstream. And this causes a serious immune response. And it's been implicated in countless autoimmune diseases such as celiac and Crohn's and Hashimoto's and rheumatoid arthritis, cancers of the breast and ovary and brain, and neurologic disease like multiple sclerosis and ALS and schizophrenia and autism. So after you're exposed to gluten, though, a lot of times people say, well, I haven't eaten gluten for a week. How come I don't feel bad? The problem is that once you eat gluten, it takes about 6 months for the antibodies, the things that are causing the autoimmune reaction, to leave your body. And then you get off gluten for 3 months, and then you say, well, I'm just going to have this bread once, and you start that same 6-month process, creating that autoimmune response in your body all over again. So here's the thing, it's going to inflame. So it's going to inflame the cell walls, but the inflammation over long term is what causes the scar tissue, the adhesions, etc. And so your body's so smart, it sees the inflammation, it sees the leaking in the intestines, and it says, I need to put something here. I got to fix this. What's nice and soft and sticky that I can put between these two cells? And you know what it puts there? It puts cholesterol there. Cholesterol is another type of fat. But did you guys now see why thyroid might be a cause of your cholesterol to go up? Isn't that wild? Now, if you have a lot of fat deposits in your intestines, you can actually run a test to see how much fat is in there. Write this down. If you have more than 50% fat in your intestines, your gut is leaking guaranteed. You can actually test this. All right. Another thing I'm going to cover, but very simply, is something called FODMAPs. And they're basically a certain type of carbohydrate that's poorly absorbed in the small intestine. A couple popular FODMAPs are onions and garlic, but the list is really long, and it's way too long to list here. But another FODMAP I want to mention quickly is soy, because it's found in a lot of the gluten-free foods on the shelves these days. So it's been a long thought to interfere with the body's ability to absorb thyroid medications like Synthroid or levothyroxine. So think about that. But it really comes down to this, and I'm just going to tell you a quick story here. The guy on the left is my great-grandfather. He was Dean of Agriculture at UC Davis back when it was called the University of California. And what he studied was cows. He removed vitamin A from cows, the mother, from their diet, and they also removed vitamin A from the diet of the children. And what ended up happening is that's one of his cows up there walking into the wall because the cows became blind. See, it wasn't that they had genes to be blind, it was they were deficient in what they needed for their body to function. And so really I look at disease as one of two things. We either have a deficiency in what our body needs for the pathways to actually be able to work properly, or we have a toxicity of something that's interfering with those pathways. They say that 95% of all cancers are rooted in our lifestyle and our habits and our rituals. And one being is that what we eat and what we don't eat. You know, a lot of times the big thing is that basically disease, including cancer, it really can be defined as a nutrient deficiency or a toxicity. Food toxicity means that some foodborne chemicals or compounds cause damage to your body and interfere with your body being able to function right. And you're probably familiar with gluten, it's in grain, but casein, which is in dairy, refined white sugar, aspartame, which is NutraSweet, preservatives in our processed meats, all the fluorescent food coloring, and alcohol is there. So this is a big topic, but what I want you to know is how does this apply to you? So let's look at the thyroid right here. We talked earlier that 99% of the T4 is bound to thyroid binding globulin. 99.5 is actually bound to the thyroid of T3 is bound to your thyroid binding globulin. But did you know that when you that you can decrease this binding, the ability for your body to bind and transport the T4 and T3 just by using aspirin? Like, aspirin literally contributes to hypothyroid and nutrient deficiencies, the heavy metal exposures, your adrenal stress, enzyme deficiencies, chronic illness, oxidized polyunsaturated fatty acids like canola oil and soy oil, vegetable oil, safflower oil, sunflower oil, walnut oil. All these processed food additives will actually interfere with that binding there. But you will have always heard that iodine is the key is a key component of thyroid hormone, and it's been linked to breast cancer. Like it's also been. And the thing is that iodine is actually mimicked. The deficiency has been linked to breast cancer, but iodine is also mimicked by things like chlorine and fluorine and bromide. All that, and they compete for your iodine receptors. So bromide, basically 40 years ago, iodine was replaced by bromine. The thing is that this bromine was actually banned in the UK in 1990 and Canada in 94. We find it in plastics and hot tub treatments and fire retardants in the United States, some flours and bakery goods, and even in some soft drinks. So with these things that we eat and we're exposed to on a regular basis, they actually interfere with the iodine being able to bind with your thyroid hormones there. See, the thyroid hormone acts on nearly every cell in your body. It increases the basal metabolic rate. It affects protein synthesis. It helps regulate long bone growth. It's in synergy with your growth hormones. It helps your neurons mature. It increases your body's sensitivity to catecholamines or adrenaline, like stress hormones. It regulates protein and fat and carbohydrates. It stimulates vitamin metabolism and leads to heat generation in humans. So what's one simple thing that we can do that would interfere with it? How about drinking water out of the tap? See, years ago, fluoride was used as a medical intervention for hyperthyroid. What they would use is fluoride as an anti-thyroid treatment beginning in the 1800s. And so, because they found that linking thyroid, when they took fluoride, it would actually prevent a goiter, which is the swelling of the thyroid gland resulting from too much thyroid medication. Excuse me. But up until the 70s, scientists in Europe prescribed, and even in the 70s, scientists in Europe prescribed fluoride to reduce somebody's metabolic rate. But think of what happens. When we drink fluoride in our water, we're interfering with iodine being able to be utilized by our thyroid hormones there. And so it's those simple little things. Another thing would be like this. What about, why is our thyroid sluggish? If I could just answer this one question. And it's very rare to have a primary thyroid problem if you live in an area where there's no iodine. 80% of thyroid is converted from T4 to T3 through the liver and the gallbladder. But if your liver is damaged, chances are you could be that could be the source of your thyroid problem. If you have constipation that backs up your liver, it could be a cause of your thyroid problem. If you have a sluggish gallbladder or no gallbladder, that could be a source of your thyroid problem because you're not able to convert these hormones correctly. And just so you know, if you don't have enough bile, which comes from a lot of adrenal stress, and you don't know you don't know about the substance of bile, which helps you break down fats for one reason or another, you won't be able to concentrate the iodine to make the thyroid work. Another thing is estrogen dominance. Estrogen dominance is going to block the thyroid because estrogen competes for the same thyroid receptors. So when we look at the toxins, like the what we call xenoestrogens, the toxins in our environment that mimic estrogen, like from our plastics and our personal care products and the makeup that we put on our face. Did you know that there's even that gluten sometimes in people's lipstick? That's a side note. But it blocks the receptors so much so that the estrogen can also be a primary source of our thyroid problems there. All right, so what do we do about it? So we talked about the deficiency. Now, the toxicity. Now we got to talk about deficiency. And the big key is we just have to become sufficient. You'll see that and this is what I recommend. It's what I call my rapid reset process, the rapid regeneration process for like advanced thyroid health. And what we want to look at is, number one, is we want to look at what we call our B complexes. Those are going to be things that we use for that methylation. We need to have magnesium in there so that we can, which they estimate that there's 300 processes that magnesium makes. Participates in, and one of them is your thyroid. And they estimate that 97% of the people in the United States are deficient in magnesium. So magnesium is important for selenium to be reabsorbed. Vitamin D, which is an anti-inflammatory vitamin, it's an immune vitamin. So if you're fighting a Hashimoto's, it's an antidepressant. But it also, with the probiotics, which will help repair and regenerate your gut. The other thing is we talked about the optimal omega. The optimal omega is it's got that 4-to-1 ratio. It's perfectly designed to help people repair their cell membrane. The other couple of things that are important that we haven't really talked about, but grass-fed whey powder. It actually helps to increase your glutathione levels. But also, when you're taking this, it's from a clean food source, a non-toxic food source. And what that allows your body to do is to not have to spend all of its time detoxing, but also it helps to reduce the sugar level, which increases inflammation. We also have things like a green drink. In our office, I use something called Green Vibrance. And we actually, the Green Vibrance, it's like a highly concentrated food source to make sure that your body's sufficient in the things that it needs. And most importantly is the detox system. It's the thing that helps to pull the toxins out of the cells, increasing your body's by increasing your body's glutathione levels, and then it binds it once it's come out of the cells and pulls it out of your intestines. I mean, think about it. If you don't absorb selenium, could you have a thyroid problem? Magnesium is required for that. I mean, look at B12. If you're feeling fatigued, it's required for energy. But I would say the biggest challenge, if you see this picture right here, this is your human metabolism. It's crazy, isn't it? Like how complicated it is. And I would say that the second fundamental principle is that I talk about for extraordinary health is having a blueprint. Because sometimes even the most well-meaning family or friend or even support group member can give you bad advice that sounds really good and logical and helpful. And when in reality, if the advice is followed, it could actually be detrimental to your health. I mean, in the picture above, it's a diagram of your metabolism. And if that person does not know how the metabolism works, they can cause a tremendous amount of problems with bad advice there. Well, you change one place in there, it can change everything. So make sure that you have somebody that's trained professionally with the education on the topic who has researched and seen results in more than just a few cases. I mean, let me give you an example of what I see in thyroid forums all the time. I see a lot of people, somebody will post a question like, what vitamins should I be taking for my hypothyroidism? And we'll see anywhere from 3 to 30 comments that are sometimes way off base, but they're from well-meaning forum members. And sometimes even group leaders with really no medical background are giving people bad advice. Now that's 30 comments, and it's a great sign of community, which is definitely important. But remember, the purpose of community is for the encouragement, not education. Some of these groups would like you to believe that they have all the answers, but in reality, you shouldn't lean too heavily on the advice of people whose entire education on the subject was gleaned from the trenches, being in the trenches with you, or searching a few websites. I mean, oftentimes what works for some people, or even the majority of the people, might not work for you. And it could do your body damage without an expert giving you pointers in the direction based on real proven results and experience with a multitude of cases. I mean, many times you'll end up being tossed and blown about by every wind of new teaching, and eventually you become tired and frustrated. I mean, obviously that's not the ideal. Additionally, an expert will be able to give you what's the relevant, timely advice, having fielded many of the same questions that you're likely to come up with. An expert will also be able to give you the big picture and explain the why behind the advice that he or she gives. But let's move on to the third principle. So we talked about having an expert, but we also talked about community. And your community is the third principle. It's about a support system. It's about having a group of peers in the same journey, facing the same struggles, overcoming the same hardships you're facing. And that's essential. I mean, you have to have a safe place to go where people understand what you're going through, not simply out of empathy or sympathy, but because they've been there. I mean, they're struggling with the exact issues that you're struggling with, and that kind of support is imperative to keeping you centered on your journey and taking control of your transformation. I mean, I've seen this principle play a cornerstone role in helping women stay accountable to each other and be encouraged and share successes and failures and just to be a light to each other. I mean, this principle, though it's a bit intangible, it's just as important as the other two principles there. So let me summarize this. There's only one cause of all disease, and that is the decisions that we make. Look, I'm a Christian. I believe that God made our bodies, and I believe that you are more powerful than you give yourselves credit for. And unfortunately, we use our free will to be a detriment many times. How do we solve this? We look at how our decisions affect our health. And so if we looked at the decisions we'd make, we'd find that they really affect three areas of what I call the three-legged stool. If your gut's healthy, science has said that that's about 80% of your immune system. Can you imagine? Can your immune system heal you? Yes. If your immune system works, you would be healthy. Your health is based on the strength of your immune system, which is based on your gut. So your gut it's a very important thing to pay attention to. How would you right now fix your gut or change your digestive system? Well, there's only one way, and that's to heal what's going on in there. How would you fix that? You'd change your eating, right? I have an eating plan on my website, and it's all outlined in the Align Your Health book there. And you can just go there and simply follow the plan. Go to drtjosborne.com, drtjosborne.com. Remember the three keys making you, and it talks about the three keys, and making sure you have the right fats, making sure you are sufficient in your nutrients, and the need for proper methylation. I mean, you can find this all on my website. Just look up go to the shop, look up the thyroid bundle, and there are 2 bundles there with instructions on how to use them, and they outline what each of the supplements is for. One's a little bit more comprehensive bundle, and the other one's a more minimal bundle if you're on a limited budget. But remember, there's a difference between price and cost. Since we're looking for a lifestyle change, you should commit to a minimum of 90 days on the eating plan and supplementation plan. And to support you in this process, you can have all your bundles auto-shipped to you. And to be able to support you in this process, when you do auto ship, we'll give you a 20% discount for being committed there. Now, the first step in the three-legged stool is to see how your body's functioning. And the most common thing that I hear is people saying this: I don't have any pain. I have no numbness. Everything moves. I guess I don't have any nerve involvement. Well, that's not necessarily the case. You need to stop guessing about your health. You need to know how your nervous system is functioning. It's really, really, really important that you understand these 3 legs. Now, here's the other reason why I teach the 3. When most people want to get healthy, their first action is, I'm going to exercise. Let me ask you real quick. Which of the 3 legs does exercise fix? Does it fix your gut? Does it decrease your toxicity? Look, exercise actually increases your toxicity, and you want to know why? Because when you sweat out water, if you have more toxins, if you have toxins that are not water soluble, you hyperconcentrate the toxins, and now you're feeling worse. I mean, anybody ever exercise and feel like they're dying? It's because you're increasing toxicity by working out. Does exercise make you healthier? No, it makes you more fit, but oh my God. People are saying, then what have I been doing all these years? Does eating fix your gut? It might help. It might decrease your toxicity, but most of us have been eating Fruity Pebbles, Cocoa Puffs, and Dr. Pepper for breakfast since birth. I was raised on that, but that was my breakfast when I was a kid. But we might eat organic and go clean and everything else, but if you have nerve involvement, this is a third leg of the stool, is we are going to have high toxicity. See, God looks down and he says, no, stop praying. If your gut's working, if you're not toxic, if your nerves are connected, I've already programmed you to have all the health that you've ever wanted to have in your life. And I wanted you to have it in abundance. Isn't that amazing? All I'm going to do today is we're going to play a word game. And I'm going to replace the word health with thyroid. Because guess what? Your thyroid is based on these 3 things. So like I said, it's your toxicity, your gut, and your nerves that determine your health. So if we replace that word, what are the 3 things that you're going to base your thyroid health on? Same thing, you might have diabetes. So I could replace the word health with diabetes, and the solution is going to be the same. Could have fibromyalgia, I replace the word with fibromyalgia, and it's going to be the same. We could replace it with Hashimoto's. It's the same three-legged stool that makes the correction. So let's, for example, we talked about selenium. Let's use it as an example. When you have lots of selenium, your thyroid does the right thing. Does it always fix the problem? No. Does it mean that you don't have a vitamin deficiency? No. You might have a gut issue, you might have a toxic issue, or you might have a nerve problem. And if I take something that's supposed to fix it and it doesn't, it's because one of the three legs are still involved. And that's why it's so important that you pay attention to your gut, you pay attention to your toxins, and you pay attention to your spine. Does that make sense to you guys? So let me talk to you about Mary. We're all going to talk about the spine for a moment, but Mary's a very special patient. She came in about 15 years ago. And we're going to talk about spine because it's the most overlooked, unchecked, undiagnosed cause of your problem, which is a power problem. I mean, who could tell me where the problem is here? The one on the left where the spine's straight, or the one on on this circuit breaker right here? Yeah, it's going to be B10, right? So like when you look at this circuit breaker, we would all know that the problem is where the switch is flipped, where something's out of alignment, right? Right at B10. So what if that fuse went to your dishwasher? Would it still work? Is there something wrong with your dishwasher? Maybe your husband's going to tell you, it's not working. So something is wrong with it, but it's not working. So what do? You bring that dishwasher to a dishwasher specialist, and he just happens to have an MD attached to his name. You guys see that analogy? The doctor comes in and he tests the dishwasher, but all the tests come back normal, and he says, well, I don't know what's wrong. And you go, well, we need a specialist who has longer initials. So he comes in and goes, yeah, they don't know what they're talking about. I'm going to go, the specialist says that they don't know what they're talking about, so I'm going to run some special tests. We're going to do some special therapy to get this thing to work. And he goes, there's no electricity flowing to this. I have a plan. I'm going to hook a battery up to it. I'm going to put a battery behind it, and it's going to make it work. And guess what? It does. And it turns on, but then the battery runs out, and what happens? And then you go back to him and he says, well, I forgot to tell you. You need to go every month to this place that has several initials like Walmart or Walgreens or Rite Aid or CVS, etc. And you need to get a new battery every month to replace the battery. You're going to have to do that for the rest of your life. Did I tell you that? I forgot to say I'm sorry. So here, he passes you a new battery. Do you guys see the analogy? Or could you go, wait a minute. I know how things work. Let's go look somewhere else. And you could go, oh, visibly there's a problem. I found it, and now I'm going to flip the switch and fix it, and you're going to be able to, your dishwasher is going to be able to work for whatever its lifespan is there. So we're talking about Mary. So what is this? This is Mary's spine on the left-hand side. And it's the same thing as a fuse panel. There's nerves, there's wires, there's electricity, and the spine on the left has to have a curve like the one on the right. Do you guys see the alignment issue? One on the left is straight, the one has a curve. Curve or no curve. No curve, big problem. Curve, no problem there. Help me, can you guys see this? You're not even trained to read x-rays and you can see the difference there. But where's the problem? The spine's out of alignment, and to fix this person's health issue, their power issue, what do we need to do? We need to fix the problem. So right now, some of you are like, oh, this is kind of this kooky, crazy chiropractic talk. No, guys, look, it's basic human anatomy. If the nerve's irritated, there's a problem. You just have to fix it. So look right here where the red arrow is. That's where your thyroid nerves are. 3, 4, 5, 6. Thyroid. That's your neck now. And if you zoom in on the neck, you're going to be saying, okay, the skull holds the brain. This is a brain test, guys. If the brain can go through the skull into the neck, and the first bone protects it, and then you have the second and the third, which ones cause the thyroid problem again? The third, fourth, fifth, and sixth. And you see where I have the arrow there? This space should be wide open to allow the brain to flow through. Do you think we could take an x-ray and find out if your brain is communicating with your organs? See if there's actually thyroid nerve damage that nobody's ever looked at? Look, it's plain as day. It's visible on the x-ray. And how many of you have ever had an x-ray to find out if you have organic health issues there? Look, I don't do chiropractic. I do spinal rehabilitation. I reset your spine to the position it's supposed to be in, and your body's going to heal itself. Actually, we're so good at that we can often see changes just in as little as one visit. We x-ray, we adjust, we re-x-ray, and show it to you, and we say, hey, look, there's a 40% improvement. Do you want to keep going with it? And who gets to decide? You. See, we need to test. We need to stop guessing with our health. I would never want to guess with my health. Would you guys agree? It's like it's the most valuable thing that you have, and I don't care what you say, I don't care if you say that you can't afford it. When you lose your health, all of a sudden we figure it out. So why don't we spend our time trying to figure out how to get healthy rather than trying to get how to get out of the crisis that we find ourselves in? The other thing that'll happen is when somebody comes into my office, we want to make sure that we actually take what's called a thermal scan there. So here's what I did. You guys should have received this, but I just want to review back for you. The first thing we talked about was identifying your roadblocks there. We want to clarify your big why. We want to lay out that solid battle plan. We want to learn the how. I just want you to remember that there's hope, and you don't have to continue living with chronic pain and fatigue and difficulty losing weight. All you have to do is follow the guide. All you have to do is follow the blueprint there. And we can stay away from the anxiety and the depression and the drugs and the surgery and other risky procedures we can do it naturally and more effective than we ever imagined. 5 and 6 was simple math. We talked about simple math. Get the book. Supplements, I have the resources right on my website, just drtjosborne.com. Have a support system. That's what our office is all about. And number 9 is making sure that you check how your body's functioning, check how your nervous system's functioning. So that's it. That's what I have for you guys today. And so what your action plan is, number 1, go to drtjosborne.com. I want you to check on get yourself sufficient, get yourself non-toxic, get your thyroid bundle there. If you haven't, if you want to check out the third leg of the stool, make sure that you go to the website and you can log on to be able to set up an appointment. Put your questions on there, and like I asked, just comment what you learned, what action steps you're going to take. And I just want to thank you guys for spending time with me, and have an absolutely blessed day. The thermal scan